here. So really happy to see you here. What I want to present here, and I'm going to make it short and brief because we don't have much time, but is actually last year when I was in Sorcery in Amsterdam, I had like some experience like working for different clients in different industries like retail, finance, some pharmaceutical machinery, very different things. No? And I was seeing people like Mark Lundgren, Aaron Lins, Victor Soroka doing like crazy things with code and with tools that I didn't know, and I thought, well, maybe I need to become a bit more technical. No? So this is a thought that I've been having during like these last 10 months, and it's still work in progress. But my hypothesis is that every sorcerer should become at least a bit more technical, a bit more tech savvy, regardless of that if you don't source for IT or tech roles. Okay. IT recruiter sorcerers here. Are you recruiting for tech roles? Okay, okay. Other persons that are doing other type of roles, like finance, HR, operations. Good, good. What this means for me, so as I say, tech savvy, you need to be aware of tech trends, okay? And I, myself, this concept that I have is that you don't need to be a tech expert to be a better sorcerer and a more technical-minded sorcerer. You are not going to become a developer, even if you learn some programming languages, and that's not the aim for you, but at least to have this kind of mindset, no? And I think we have been speaking about this, no? And why I've been thinking about that? Well, many of my different projects, one of my main issues has been how I can get the best from the information system that I'm using. Can be LinkedIn, can be ATS, can be any of the tools, no? And if you are more aware of how that technology works and what you can do with that, and if you have a better understanding of what a digital information system is, you are going to be able to spot different issues earlier, and you're going to be able to take the maximum from that, no? Vendor management and implementation, I'm sure that some of you are doing this. Actually, you are going through many different tools. Everybody has a solution for everything. And if you have a better knowledge of the different IT alternatives, I'm sure that you're going to take advantage of this, no? And, well, I promise this is the only LinkedIn mention that I'm going to do. So I'm not going to mention more about LinkedIn, only this, but I think I really like this one. I don't know if you can see it here. So, for the modern recruiter, in this infographic that LinkedIn did, one of the most important parts are, for me, the data and the technology. Of course, it's a balance between the art and the science, always, as it's mentioned here, but I think that technology at the end, in my opinion, is going to give the advantage, you know, and how you use it and how you make it work for you, you know? And I think that it's always going to be adapted to each company, but if you have a better understanding of the tech landscape, it's going to be definitely helpful, okay? This is a question actually. I mean, I think it's something that we discuss often, like, how many of you think that robots are going to steal your jobs? No? You? Why?
Because I'm working on creating robots to steal your jobs.
That's a good question. Okay. Well, I have another point of view, a bit different. And for me, I would say that no. But you better learn what the things are, how the things are happening. So what the software that people is building is doing. What are the things that can be now automated, replicated by a software instead of you, and that again is going to give you an advantage. I think that in the talk that Karen was doing yesterday, something that she mentioned also through all the way, at the end it's like the difference between a sorcerer that knows how to use a technology is the difference of that person that can master these skills and can really implement that into their organization and have an impact using this technology. And maybe when it's going to be discussing with their boss or the hiring manager, like, okay, well, why I shouldn't replace you if I have this tool that is doing this that you can do, I don't know, in 1 week, and this is doing it in 1 day? Well, because you know how to use a tool, and you know how to adapt it to your company, and you know what are the differences in the different type of settings that you can get from that. No? So for this reason, you need to become more tech savvy. And tech to be followed, I think everybody's speaking a lot about many different things, concepts of in technology. Artificial intelligence, for example, is a bit old. So since 1956, it's not something. I mean, we are always with the hype and thinking like, whoa, this is amazing, this is like so new, this is so hot now. But it has been around for some time. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, to give you like a really brief description. So if you think of what is artificial intelligence, it would be the equivalent of our brain, of our cognitive system, okay? As the contrast of the natural intelligence that we have as humans and other animals have. And machine learning, that is also is a part of the artificial intelligence actually, is more related to how this artificial intelligence is learning, no? I'm sure that you have seen like from some of the tools that have been presented, or maybe some tools that are using machine learning, things like natural language processing and sentiment analysis. And at the end, what is the most important thing that these tools are able to do that maybe for us will take ages, no? I think is learning from the relationships, no? What are the trends in data? So what a machine can do that like very quickly, and it's going to uncover some patterns and some hidden insights. It might take a lot of time for us, even if we can do it, no? So that's why, again, what I was saying before, we need to use this as an advantage for ourselves, no? I'm going to mention 2 examples of tools that are based in artificial intelligence. So one is IBM Watson. I have a video here that I want to show you.
To focus their efforts with confidence so that high priority requisitions are immediately surfaced and acted upon. Using drivers like skills, location, seniority, and more, Watson Recruitment understands the complexity of a job, allowing recruiters to set expectations and plan accordingly. Using current data about inflow of candidates from any applicant tracking system, Watson Recruitment calculates the estimated time to fill and requisition progress so that recruiters can effectively communicate data-driven updates to their hiring managers.
Okay, so IBM Watson, is anybody familiar? Have you been using it somehow in your current role in any project? No? Yes?
Yeah.
Good. Sorry. It's always something in these videos. I had embedded the video in the presentation and then something happened. Okay. So, what I was saying, IBM Watson actually is what is known as it was created as a question and answer system. So, let me see the presentation. Okay, perfect, because I can see it here. Okay, good. It uses advanced natural language processing, so that's the capacity from the machine to be dealing with how we communicate in terms of like the language that we use, and it's always taking also scraping and indexing information from many different sources. No, initially it was created like in 2006 to be like one of these kind of contests, like TV contests, like a game, and then at the end. Well, it has been used for many different applications. No? Some of them, for example, with one line of the product that they have is called Engagement Advisor. So the main focus and the main one of the main things that it can do is to provide predictions, forecasting. And again, it's going back to the patterns and the insight and having the difference that it makes, having this information in your to make a decision that will maybe take ages for you to have. Hiding solved, right? Security alert. So I think it was mentioned also yesterday, I think, or hiding solved at least. I'm not sure it's right. Also, I mean, as a company that has been in recruitment for some time, but this specific tool is since 2016 and is a sourcing assistant. So it's maybe what you were saying before, Stuart. It's like one of these tools that pretends to take out the job of the sourcer, But at the end of the tool, somebody has to be there and needs to understand how to configure it and everything, So I think I can show you it works.
Find a Java developer in Dallas, Texas.
Now let's add a few must-have skills for this role.
Many of the candidates are diverse.
The search had 571 diverse results. That's about 60% of the results.
Add the diverse candidates to a project.
Okay, so who can tell me here what are the main things that you have seen here happening that are not involving a human, a person, yourself? Somebody?
Synonyms.
Okay, that's what indexing, like listing many different types of synonyms. Anything else? Yeah, and it's something that normally we need to do ourselves, manually, Excel spreadsheets and calculators and things like that. And also, as you have seen, like also even finding some candidates. So these assistants at the end are, some of them, I think Heireto does that too, are providing like some kind of like shortlisted candidates for you that you can use. But again, at the end of the day, somebody needs to verify if these are good. Somebody needs to keep engaging with these persons, no? Okay. I don't know what happened with the presentation. Okay, so another trend. So we have been seeing like artificial intelligence, machine learning. I hope that you have like a better overview of what it is, and that is like some old kind of like concepts that have been around for, and disciplines that have been for more than 50 years. Blockchain is also having like a bit of a hype, and it's something that a lot of people has been like speaking recently, particularly in the last years, with the rise of cryptocurrencies, especially the price of Bitcoin. So it was created in 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto, or mainly created for Bitcoin, but then with many applications for other industries, actually not only the finance and the banking industry, but with mainly three characteristics that are these three last ones here, okay? Record management, identity management, and transaction processing. So these three things are particularly relevant for recruitment. Why? Because, well, I think we all know about like the amount of fake profiles that you can find on LinkedIn. Okay. This I will give you an example actually of a couple of social networks that are going to be or are already an alternative to LinkedIn and are based in blockchains, no? And one of the main characteristics, so this is one named Joveo, that actually I'm advising, but it's in a very early stage. One of the main characteristics of these platforms is that the data keeps being in the ownership of the person. So the user keeps having the ownership, because when we sign up and we skip the terms of service and we click to sign up to a lot of the different social networks that we are using, we know that we are giving away our data. No? So one of the things that the blockchain wants to change through this is this. And more advanced than actually Joveo, there is another example here. It's named Tokyo, and you can it's live, and actually you can go there and start finding people. Another of the particularities of these platforms is that they try to reward to the users and to the recruiters that are maybe using these platforms more on an individual basis, like to charge like a kind of a fee using like their own cryptocurrency system internally. No? So additional sources or places that we need to be maybe aware to find also talent, and that maybe in the future are even going to be an alternative to some of the main ones that we're using at the moment. So what can be done? Having all this in mind, I want to give you like three things, very specific ones, of people that I've been following, and some applications and tools that are, I think, a bit more technical, but for sure maybe some of them you're using them already, and others I hope that you can learn something new. I think, well, Phantom Buster, I think Marcel is going to speak about that, and Blockstream, Guillaume spoke about that definitely. But we have three things. One is Aaron Links, for example. He's in my team, it's great, and he's doing, he's the master of hacking event lists, okay? I can go into detail about this, but he used a tool called Postman. As you can see, it seems like it's definitely getting like the chunks of data that is communicating from one place to another in the website when you're going there or in the mobile app. So if you go to this article that he has here, you will be able to see it more into depth. No? So what Aaron is showing to us, like there is a way of taking attendance lists, like events like this one and many others. And to do this, you don't need to be in tech. You don't need to be a tech sorcerer, because we have events of every profession. Every industry has their own events. So this is a technical, advanced technical thing to do in sourcing, but can be useful for any profession. Okay. Another thing that can be useful, so this is Glenn Denmacher, and he is kind of almost the godfather of bookmarklets. And bookmarklets are small programs based in JavaScript, and you can save them in the bookmarks, hence the name, or in a specific website. So why is this useful? Because it's a very cheap, easy way of sometimes automatizing tasks that maybe you are repeating yourself, and maybe you don't have time or budget to wait for the tool that is going to solve that, with not very extensive knowledge in JavaScript, you can create the bookmarklet to do that, no? And this is two examples that he shared recently on Facebook about like how to use the LinkedIn Sales Navigator Chrome extension that Irina mentioned yesterday, and also something related to Hoist, no? So if you want to learn more about how to do bookmarklets and with JavaScript, you can use this link here. And the last one also is Tom Ordóñez. He has many things with Python. Python is not one of the most difficult languages to learn, and again, what I was saying in the beginning, the aim is not to be an expert in Python or in JavaScript, is can I use this to something useful for me? And if you go to his website here, you'll go into detail. I mean, if you are not experienced in coding, it might seem a bit complicated at first, but you'll see that he has like many different examples of how he applies Python for his daily sourcing, and it's pretty surprising. So, where to start? I don't know if you have a lot of experience in coding. Is anybody experienced in coding? I know Eve, for sure. A little bit.
I do some PHP classes.
Okay.
I'm learning Python at the moment.
Learning Python. Somebody else here coding? No? Joanna?
No, unfortunately.
Okay. I asked what I was saying in the beginning. So I asked myself how I could get there, you know, because I just show you 3 examples of things that I really believe are useful for any sourcer in any industry. Okay, but you need to get there. These people has invested a lot of time in learning about that, no? And we are not expected. I mean, I did a HR master's degree, and they don't show you anything remotely related to these things. You know? So by yourself, there's different learning platforms where you can start learning some of the languages in a very basic level that is not going to consume a huge amount of your time, but it's going to give you enough information and insights to code a bookmarklet in JavaScript or maybe a script in Python. Okay, Code Academy, SoloLearn, they have websites, they have applications. Grasshopper from Google has a specific application too, and it's very gamified and it's really fun. There is, I'm sure that you are familiar with Udacity, EDX, and Coursera. They have like many introductory free courses for that. And of course, Facebook groups, because nowadays the majority of the information that we exchange and we share is on Facebook. And Sorcerers Who Code, created by Susanna Fraser, Maisha Khan, and Sarah Goldberg, is the reference for any sourcer from any industry that is a bit interested in making tech work for himself or herself. So, a data miner user community more for scraping, and growth hacking recruiters, I think, for all the cool things that they taken from the marketeers that also code, and there is a lot of marketing people that are also learning to code. No? So, well, this is a presentation. I hope that you took something interesting from that. I mean, for me, it's still a journey, and I'm going through that. I hope that it sparked a bit of interest in these areas. I know that some people are more familiar with these things. Some people even have like some programming background, and maybe it's easier, but I think and I really believe that this is relevant for any sourcer in any people, any kind of industry. So thank you very much, and let's discuss if we have time.
Yeah.
So any questions about this or something?
How many time? How long did you took to get to know Python? You are into Python course.
Very basic level.
Yeah.
And I mean myself, I'm actually studying a master in IT. A part-time master. So it's taking most of my time because I was seeing that it was not going to be enough for what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. But I know people that's like maybe half an hour, 1 hour. I know that Tom Ordonez is like every night he's studying like 4 hours. But he's like very, very experienced in Python. I think at the end of the day it depends on yourself. Thank you. Any other question?
I don't need a mic. Before your talk, I saw some of your slides and I thought it was exciting that you were going to mention blockchain, because I thought you were going to be talking more about privacy. And one of the things that's weird about this conference is that there isn't more conversation about legally sourcing. So I wondered if you think that trying to source candidates legally is going to be a big competitive disadvantage, or do you have an opinion on whether people are going to continue scraping illegally?
It's a difficult question. I would say that people is going to do illegal things always. The consequences are for everybody to assume, to decide they want to assume the risk. I mean, we have this conversation always now with GDPR. I believe that using systems that are based in having ownership of your own data are going to provide a more equitative, transparent relation, both like saving the privacy of the user and already providing a straightforward proof of consent. So that's why I also believe that blockchain can be an alternative, and these kind of networks that I mentioned, like Jobem and Docu and others, can have this kind of setup where if you are taking the data from there, you know that you're doing it because it's right, no? But again, I'm not a lawyer either, so everybody needs to evaluate how much risk wants to take and what kind of methods you want to scrape. I mean, this information that you can scrape that is publicly available. There is others maybe that is more questionable, and you need to think about it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What is the major roadblocks you find in learning this IT stuff, especially in your master, because it's an academic level? Is there some skills that are lacking, or you can understand basically anything?
Well, mainly that I'm really tired every day after work, so I try to find some time on the weekend, and I'm only doing like one course per semester, so it's in 3 years, so it's good. But I also that I haven't been technical minded myself, or I didn't have a technical career path until I was more focused in sourcing in my career, and I started seeing things like that I needed to work with data better, that I needed to use tools better, and sometimes the answer I needed straight away, and I had to play with that, you know, and seeing other people as the ones that I mentioned doing these things, you know. I think that the main block is going to be time, but also, of course, if you are in an organization that recognize that and is giving you support to do that, and even training, even better. Anybody else? No? Well, thank you.